Your boy Superman. Today's video is about why Japanese don't speak English. I mean, a small percentage do, and bravo for you. And good job, because mastering another language is actually very difficult. Anyways, let's just get into it. I made a chart and some points and all that stuff to keep myself on track. I want to make the best videos I can for you. Anyways, first one, they're forced. Like, do you like being forced anything? Like, if I came to your house, like, hey, how's it going? You like coffee? You're like, no, I don't like coffee. I'm like, well, I brought you some coffee. I would like you to drink it right now. You probably wouldn't be very happy, and you more than likely you wouldn't want to drink the coffee. You'd probably kick me out and my coffee. So they're forced English. It's forced upon you. When things are forced upon you, you don't learn them well. Okay? So that's the first one. English is forced upon everyone in Japan. And maybe only like 20% of Japan want to actually learn English. Okay? In America, in high school, we have they're like electives, right? You get to pick a language. Like, you can pick Spanish, you can pick French, you can pick Japanese, you can pick Chinese, you can pick whatever language you want. And I think in Japan they should offer the same option at public schools. Then people would be more engaged and more, they'd want to actually learn whatever subject they chose. So that's reason one. Two, they start late. They start very late. Currently, and this is in public school system, they're starting in 5th grade English, right? So you've been speaking Japanese your whole life. Everything's Japanese everywhere. Do. And suddenly in 5th grade, they're like, hi, today we're going to show you English. And you're like, English? And they don't have really a reason why. It just starts. You're learning English. Okay. So here comes the force. Like, here, you ready for coffee? And the kids are like, no. So they start in 5th grade. They start pretty late, at the age of like, what is that, 9, 10? So they start late. Like, if you really want to master a language, you gotta start at least, like, I would say 2, but you can start at 4. I have a buddy. He came to America at the age of 13. He started learning from 14 till now. He speaks perfect English. However, his whole world was English. He was immersed in English. His school was English. He had to learn English. Japan's not like that. Anyways, so they start late. So of course they're not going to learn English. Then, like, their classes, they are taught, like, for example, an ALT comes to one class, like, for 1 hour 1 week. Okay, that's all the time these elementary kids get per week with that real native speaker. The rest of the time it's a Japanese teacher. So, which brings me to my next point. Japanese teachers, okay? I've taught at quite a few schools, more than I care to mention. I had the most experience as an ALT, not because it's easier or anything like that. It's just, those are the jobs I got, I guess. Anyways, typically, as an ALT, I'm going to use this prime example first. You'll meet your head teacher of English, and usually the head teacher speaks the most English, but that's not always the case. So my first job I had, that was the case. So, whereas all the rest of the teachers, and these were teachers of English, there might be 4 or 5 of them, they don't speak English very well at all. Like, not enough to hold a conversation at all, okay? Think about this. You can't hold a conversation in English, but you're teaching these kids every day for at least 30 minutes to an hour. You're teaching them English, okay? Shoot, if that's the way life works, I'm going to become a doctor tomorrow. You know why? Actually, in fact, I'm going to become a medical teacher. So I'm going to teach people how to become a doctor. Did I study it? Not really. Do I know a little bit about medical? Yeah, I do, because my grandma, she was in the medical industry. My wife's a nurse. Yeah, I'm going to teach about being a doctor. you know? And that's kind of the same idea. You got people who cannot speak English, I'm not trying to be negative, teaching other people English, especially how to speak English, you know? In the end of the day, what really occurs is teachers don't teach the conversation. They focus only on grammar. So it's like grammar 24/7. So you'll find that Japanese people can read and do grammar and write English very well. They just don't really know what it means. So, and that's kind of a problem in public school. Let's get to the next one. Okay, let's move on to, okay, 4. English is treated as just another subject. I got math, I got English, I got social studies. So it's not a part of their life, really, you know? It's just another subject. So, like, people really, when they think about it, they care or they don't. In majority of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, they don't care. Like I told you, it's forced upon them. Say they don't care. I've been in classes where half the class were passed out. Like, literally, teacher's like, attention, and then she'd start rambling on about translating. Because most Japanese teachers, they just say, open your book to page whatever, and they spend the whole time translating. And they'll force you to do tape recorder sometimes, where they'll look at you, okay, foreigner, say toaster, and you're like, toaster. They're like, a little faster, toaster, a little slower, toaster. So kids pass out because it's too boring, and that's what they do. Okay, let's move on to the next point, which is the private sector. The private sector probably has better results in teaching English. However, the private sector, in my opinion, I feel they do not really want kids to learn English. Why? Because if they had a really, really, really good product and they could teach kids like within like 2 years English, they're not making money, right? It's the same like medical, okay? There's no money in cures, but there's tons of money in, you know, symptoms. So you have a headache, this will relieve your headache. It doesn't solve your headache, but it'll stop it temporarily. So it's like that. So these English schools, they make programs, and they teach them very small bits of English here and there, and like they talk about immersion, but there's no immersion. You know, this one school I worked for was at Eikaiwa. You know, I worked there for like 3 months. It was me, 25 students. You know, what immersion is there? You know, one teacher, 25 students. You know. They had to fight over my attention, you know. They did learn English because they were not really allowed to do anything hardly at all without English. Can I go to the bathroom? If they came to me like, "Toi wa okay des?" And I'd be like, no. Ask me in English. So they learned some basic commands, but overall, one foreigner cannot teach 25 students English. And these schools don't really care if the kids learn English anyways, even though they're charging up to $1,000 per kid. They don't care. Because as long as they don't know English, they're going to keep on coming back. They might move on to, they're like, oh, that school is crap. I'm going to move to the next school. So they move on to the next school. Now they're at Seiwa or whatever school, or Genki English. And the kids are having fun, but again, the kids are not learning English. So the parents are like, okay, let's move into the next school. They move to the next school. The next school is not much better. In the very end, you can keep moving them from school to school to school. Every time you move into a different school, you're paying like $100 to $300 fee just to do application fee or whatever, starting fee. They have this for everything. For apartment, they call it key money. For your working out, you have to pay a fee. And they say it's paperwork fee. You're the one doing all the paperwork, but they get an extra $300. I don't get it. But it's not in, you know, the private sector's interest for kids to learn English at all. If they learn English, then they won't come back. And if they don't come back, they don't make money. Okay, sorry, I'm done about rambling with the private sector. That's the private sector. Next one. Okay, this is back to public sector. The kids have 1 hour a week with a foreigner. Okay, 1 hour. So somehow in that one whole hour, these foreigners are expected to teach the best lesson of the kid's life, to transform their minds and make them into English speakers. So yeah, of course they're not going to learn English. In fact, when I was doing that, most students actually forgot what I taught them by the next week. So I had to review, and out of all that reviewing and all that long time, doesn't matter if it's a year, 2 years, they barely learned apple. Okay, they might know ABCs, they might know there are some fruits, some animals, and stuff like that. Say hello, how are you? My name is this, but they didn't get beyond that because there's not enough time with the students to teach them English. Okay, here's the last one, number 7. Okay, in the last 30 years, the pay for foreigners has gone down dramatically, okay? It's barely enough to cover the cost of living. Because like a lot of these different schools have different styles. For ALT, you might be going to 3 different schools. If you're very unlucky, you might be going to 4 different schools. If you're very lucky, 1 different school. One of my buddies goes to 1 different school. It's very close to where he's at, so he's pretty happy. But you got to think about train fees, okay? So you're paying it out of your pocket, and later they pay you back. So that's a problem. Then cost of living by yourself. Like I told you, there's tons of foreigner discrimination in the housing market. So you're paying extra key money, you're going to move in, and more than likely, you're probably going to live somewhere terrible because if you're in the big city, it's going to be very expensive. So you're barely making enough money to get by. So you're paying your electricity, your apartment, your water, and you're going to pay the pension. There's ways around paying the pension. If you're only going to be here for like 2 years, I think there's a way to waive it. I'll look into that later, so you don't have to pay that part. But you're still going to pay the medical. The medical could be up to $300 of your money gone. So you're like, oh, I'm going to get paid $3,000 a month. Awesome. Okay. $300 for medical. Gone. Now it's $2,700. Oh, my apartment rent is $500, $600. Okay. So now, what is that? $2,100. I'm still making a lot of money. Cool. My transportation cost is $200. Okay, now I'm making $1,900. Not too bad. Food costs. That's about $300 to $500. Gee, on and on. Now you're making $1,400. Then electricity. Electricity is actually really cheap in Japan. That's a good thing. But my point is, it keeps cutting down. Back in the 90s, when they had that bubble, English teachers were getting paid a lot more. Where I'm going with this is basically when English teachers get paid less money and they can't afford, to actually survive in Japan, you're more likely to get basically crappier teachers coming in the first place. So if the pay is higher, of course you're going to get better teachers. And these are my thoughts and my reasons of why Japanese don't learn English. It's not even necessarily their fault. It's just the system. Anyways, that's the end of my video. Peace. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. It always helps the channel. And I will see you next time.